Hello YouTube and welcome to my channel eddieinreadingland. My name is Eddie and today I'm bringing you my October wrap-up. Okay guys, so I think I'm gonna start with the same thing that I did on my last wrap-up in September, and I'm gonna start with the tarot first. So for those of you who want to see the tarot that I used and the tarot that I got, it'll be first on the video, and then I'm gonna move on to the books. I didn't read a lot of books this month, which is actually expected in the month of October. I always lag on October for various reasons, but so just let's get started with the tarot. I did get one tarot, and I also filmed an unboxing of it, so if you haven't seen it, I do have that available for you guys. But it is the Red Hand Tarot by Pixel Occult. I do like very much this tarot art, and as you guys can see, oh, wait a minute, there we go. I can't get it. There we go, we're having some technical difficulties over there. But this tarot I really like. I backed it up on the Kickstarter, and I was really excited to actually see it for myself and work with it. I think this is a tarot that I'm going to use for my monthly read, which is actually going to become my Samhain read for this year. And I'm still debating if I want to show you that spread right now, or if I should wait until Jewel. But as in any case, I promise that I will show you how I do spreads for, well, I used to do monthly spreads, and I'm gonna do Wheel of the Year spreads. But this is a fantastic tarot. Oh, I love this magician. Actually, I really enjoy the cards from this deck. Just period. They are, even though they're Rider-Waite-Smith, they're drawn in a very different way. I like the Knight of Swords, one of my favorite cards. They're read in a very different way. It's a color palette that I actually like. Red, black, and white just go very well in my opinion. I really enjoy that. This tarot has amazing cohesiveness. I can definitely tell that all of these characters are part of the same world, and I really like that. I just like that little bit of difference that James did for the cards, and I really enjoy them. I'm very happy to start working with this tarot for my daily draws. I still think that I would probably not use this for client readings. I will keep this for myself. But I will use them for daily draws, and I will use this for my Samhain spread. So if I decide not to do the video, I always post my spreads on Instagram, and my Instagram is linked down below, guys, in case you want to see that. But yeah, this is the only tarot that I got for this month, and look, it's gilded, guys, with the same red. Shiny, pretty. Yes. Okay. Oh. Let me see if I can bring this over here so you guys know what I'm doing. So you guys can see what I'm doing. There's no... Okay, so moving on. I did use, as is my custom, and that custom is also going to change, I did use 2 tarots for the month of October, and since I got the Boo Tarot, actually I did not get the Boo Tarot, my husband got it for me, and this is one of the tarots that I get to use for October. It's very Halloween, it's very whimsical, it's very cute, I really like it. It provides me with a lot of insight when I do daily draws. This tarot is also a great reader with other people, especially for the Halloween season, for the spooky season. People get a giggle out of it. It's very fun. It doesn't shy out from the usual or more darker cards, like as you guys can see here. But it's still really cute and it still makes sense, and I really like it. It was great doing daily draws with this tarot deck because it really offset the other tarot that I'm going to show you in a little while. It's not only fun and whimsical, it's also very insightful. I enjoyed very much journaling with this tarot because it makes me giggle a little in the morning, and sometimes I just need to giggle, especially in a month like October for me, that it's not a really easy month for me, and I deal with a lot of grief during the month of October, and this deck and the other one that I will show you in a minute really helped me out, and they're so different from each other, but it's both energies that I feel I need for the month of October. I'm not really sure how it's going to play out for next month, because if I continue on with using 5 tarots, start celebrating the Wheel of the Year in that period of time, I think that it may change the practice, but we'll see. We'll just have to see. But this is the Boot Tarot by Celia Melesvich. She's a French artist. I want her Tarot Renard, which is a fox tarot, in the same style of the Boot Tarot. I really want it. It's really cute, and I think that it will be an excellent reader as well, like the Boot Tarot is. Let's see. Hopefully I'll get it someday. Okay. And the other tarot that I used for the month of October for my daily draws was the Sean Cos Tarot. This is a tarot deck that I also do not use for people because this tarot is actually very scary. This tarot, I use it during the month of October because I just need a tarot that is going to tell me it's going to make me aware of how I'm feeling or what I need to focus during the day and make me expand on it. I like this tarot because it's not very direct. It actually helps me expand on my journaling during the daily draws. So I really enjoy using this one. It is a tarot. I like this Eight of Pentacles. It's fascinating to me how this being is positioned. I like the weird stance that they have. It's very cool. But what I was saying is that this is a tarot deck that tells me how it is, and I am able to expand on it without with compassion, with empathy. With empathy, with warmth. Even though these are very monstrous creatures, this deck has a lot of compassion, and I really like it. I'm not very sure if it's because this tarot was meant to depict or represent mental illness and the struggle that people feel with mental illness, but it really definitely helps with grief, and it helps with when you need to hear something in a not so direct way. This is an excellent tarot for that. I really totally enjoy using this tarot for daily draws in the month of October. It is a very strong energy. I have to admit, it's very strong energy. Sometimes it even is a little scary for me. Not because of the beings depicted. It's because of how profound and how reflective and expansive I get in my journaling with this deck. So it's very good that I actually pair it with the Boot Tarot during that month, because then I can take a little bit of a break from it and have a little bit of a different energy in it. So yeah, but again, no complaints about this deck. I really enjoy it. Actually, that's not true. I do have one complaint, and it's the Page of Pentacles for this deck. Hopefully it doesn't show up because it really... Oh, here's a strength card. I love this strength card. I am also fascinated by hyenas for some reason. They are incredibly fascinating to me, and if you read about hyenas ever, they're just such fascinating creatures. It's very fascinating, their dynamic within the pack and how they work together, and the hierarchy that they have. It's sort of kind of like wolves, but not really. And but it's just in the sound that they make. It really makes me feel like they're laughing, or like mocking you, and it's just totally fascinating, guys. But yes, so this is the Sean Cost Tarot, and if you guys don't have that tarot, I totally recommend it. But yeah, so those were the tarot that actually, that was one of the tarots that I got for the month of October, and the two that I used for the draw. So now we're moving on for the books. And I will show you two books that I have physically, and the other ones I took out from the library. Again, shout out to the library system here in the United States, because with the library system in Costa Rica, I wasn't able to really check out books, and just to have that opportunity here, it's a privilege, and I use it, and I will keep using it until it's not a privilege anymore for me. But yes, so these are also in no particular order. They were just the books that I'm gonna start with the books that I have physically, and then the books that I read from the library, so that you guys have it. So I did read TJ Klune's new book. Let me see. There we go. Somewhere Beyond the Sea. There is nothing that, well, I mean, I guess I could say something. This is the second book in the series, but in this book, we follow Arthur more than we did Linus in the first book. Linus and Arthur are a couple, and together they have in their care a bunch of children that are actually monsters. And in this world, we have a bunch of not only monsters, but other creatures from mythology and other creatures from lore and folklore and storytelling. And Arthur just happens to be a phoenix, and Linus is human, actually, by the way. But in this book, we learn more about Arthur's past. What else can I say? We are introduced to a new character, a new child that they will start caring for, and how they get incorporated into the family. This book is also about coming into your power and using that power for something that is good, intrinsically good, even though people are not seeing it as good. What else I can say about this book? I don't know if you guys have ever read any TJ Klune, but this is one of TJ's books where it really makes you want to cry. It really makes you want to laugh. It makes you want to reassess the knowledge that you have about the reasons why people behave in a certain way. And sometimes we think that we know, but we really don't. This book is also about politics, and how politics can definitely play a part in segregating people, making people feel like other. So, but this is also a book about family and found family, and I really enjoyed it. It's a very Ten of Cups, very Ten of Pentacles, very Empress sort of book. So it's really good, guys. I really like it. And it's actually beautiful. Has yellow edging, and it has a shell. It all makes sense. It all makes sense why there's a shell in the naked hardback. But yeah, definitely recommend. Anybody should read TJ Klune. He's one of my favorite authors. I will just buy anything that he puts out, and I will read it. because I just like him that much. And also, I reread Frankenstein. And this is the copy that I actually use to read physically. I have 4 different copies of Frankenstein. Maybe I should do a video about the multiple copies I have of my favorite books. Because I have more copies of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland than I do Frankenstein. But anyway, this is a book that I read physically because it's a leather-ish bound, flexible sort of book. I think I got this on Barnes and Nobles. But yes, I do like it because it's very sturdy and nothing ever happens to this book at all. And it's fascinating that I actually like the cover because whoever did this cover clearly never read Frankenstein. I think they knew what Frankenstein was about, but this is not very Frankenstein related to the book. This is more related to the movies. But as in any case, it's always great. This is my annual read of Frankenstein. I read it every year for Halloween, or before Halloween actually, for the month of October. And I will implore people to read Frankenstein because it is nothing like the movies. Not that I'm saying that the movies are bad, because some of the movies are actually excellent. But Frankenstein is more a book about morality, and we are forced to, and I think I use force in a very appropriate way. We are forced both to side with the creature and side with Frankenstein in different instances, where and we're also forced to abhor them in other instances. This book is very philosophical as well. It brings up a lot of questions about life, death, definitely existentialism. But this is also a book about grief and anger and how not to cope with those feelings. I think that Mary Shelley did an excellent job showing us what not to do when we're experiencing negative emotions or more malefic emotions, I want to say. This book deals a lot with also revenge and faith. So it's a very dichotomous sort of book. I will tell you, this book will change your mind about classics. Not all classics are good, guys. Take it from an English major. No. But this one is really, really good. It changes your perspective on life, and it changes your perspective on death. And it just makes you wonder. It makes you wonder about yourself too, and it makes you wonder about, what really makes a good person or what really makes a bad person. Are we even good or are we even bad? It's excellent. I read it every year. I recommend it to anybody. And I also will tell you, this is nothing like any of the movies. Not one of the movies come even close to the plot, the major plot, and the narration of this book. Read it. Please read it. Frankenstein is one of my favorite books, so I implore you to read this. Okay, so moving on to the books that I got from the library. I'm gonna have my husband. Wait, no, this side. Here, probably. I'm not really sure where he's gonna put them. But the books that I read for the month of October, and I'm just consulting my notes because I'm very bad with names. But I did read This Is My America by Kim Johnson. And on this book, we follow Tracy, who is a young adult who's trying to pursue a career as a journalist. And she's actually part of the high school newspaper where she attends. And at the very beginning of the book, we learn that she's writing letters to this institution called Innocence X. And what she's trying to do is she's trying to have to have the lawyers that work for that firm represent her father, who has been falsely accused of murder and is now in jail. And the only reason why he's in jail basically is because he was a black man who just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And her father also had history with the people who got murdered. And it's one of those books that really makes you wonder about the legal system here in the U.S. Actually, not even here in the U.S. It's just the legal system anywhere. I feel that it definitely needs to be improved around the world, and this is exactly what Tracy is trying to do and what she's willing to do, put in the work, and she's really good at it. She's a really good civil servant, and she does group meetings and helps people understand what the rights are. And she's really driven, and she's excellent. She's an excellent journalist. She actually does have some proof that her dad didn't commit the crimes that he did, that they accuse him of doing. But in all of this, unfortunately as well, her brother Jamal gets tangled up in a murder as well, and his jacket is found at the site of the murder of his lover, I guess. This teenage young woman gets murdered, and unfortunately they find Jamal's jacket next to her, and they obviously accuse him of killing this young woman. And unfortunately he makes a decision that makes it even worse, because he escapes, he goes on the lam, and everybody's now looking for him, and so he's also being charged not only for murder but also running away. And we actually know as the readers that Jamal didn't do this. So now Tracy is also trying to find proof and investigate the murder of this classmate of hers. And on top of that, she's still writing to Innocence X. And the book does end very well for almost everyone. There is a lot of institutionalized and systemic racism that is brought to the light on this book. So just because of that, I think that people should read it. But it is an excellent narrative. There is I think that we follow the heroine's journey versus the hero's journey in this one. We have somebody who has been removed from her current state, and she's now trying to look for community around her and trying to find information around her to not only try and free her father, but also try and bring Jamal into a brighter light. This book deals as well a lot with how the media present people, especially when they're black. It's a great read. I learned a lot. I highly recommend, if you have the chance. I think it's available on the library and Audible. If you guys don't want to read the book, you can listen to it. Yeah, this is My America by Kim Johnson. Excellent book. I think that everybody should read it. And then I also read Practical Demonkeeping by Christopher Moore. This book, guys, I was surprised. This book was, I think, published in 1991, and it has queer people, and it has really good representation of queer people for the 90s. I mean, we have queer people living their lives, having a life outside of their job. We have queer people getting killed and murdered, but we also have straight people getting killed and murdered. So I was like, okay, well, we're not left out at all on this book. This book is actually really, really funny. And it's a light read, a super light read. It's super humorous. It's so ridiculous. It doesn't take itself seriously. It doesn't take anybody seriously, actually, this book. But the overall plot of the book is that we follow Travis, who is a human who has been possessed by a demon named Catch, but not possessed in his body. I think he got possessed symbiotically, I want to say. He is able to see and interact and touch the demon, but everybody else around doesn't seem to be able to do that unless the demon changes into this really bulbous, exaggerated, monstrous version of itself. And so that's the only way that other people can see him. But so he basically wants to be released from the demon's hold. And everything that happens in the book is actually pretty funny. It's one series of events just funnier and funnier than the other one. And it's actually pretty cool. Actually, I want to say that this book also does a really good job on treating the women in the book. For a book that was written in the 90s, actually, Christopher Moore did a really good job. Definitely could have been better. But again, we also have women who are independent. They're not being overly sexualized, which I was really surprised about it, because usually books in the 80s and the 90s, women are super sexualized. Even in the 2000s. I think it even still happens. I just don't read any of those books anymore, if I can help it. But I'm not really sure if I'm going to continue on, because this is a series. I think Christopher Moore has written a bunch of humorous books with paranormal sort of inclinations, and I may read more books of his, because this one was actually really fun, so I may read it, especially if it has more queer characters on it. So good job for Christopher Moore. I really liked. This is actually also the first book that he ever published. Practical Demonkeeping was actually really, really funny, guys. So if you're in for a humorous book with a paranormal sort of twist, then this will be the book for you, definitely. Okay, and I also read The Wicker King by K. Ancrum. This was a very dark YA book that deals with mental illness. And it deals with mental illness in a very surprising way for me, because as I was reading the book, I felt like this is exactly what you shouldn't do with people who are experiencing mental illness or have a mental illness. And that is exactly what the author was, I think, trying to do. The author was trying to show us that, there are things that you can do to people who are suffering from mental illness, but there are things like this book that you shouldn't do when people are dealing with mental illness. And as a person who is close to somebody who has mental illness, there are things that you should do, but there are also things that you shouldn't. And this book was really good for that. If you want to find out what not to do with people who experience mental illness, this will be an excellent book for that. But as in any case, on this book we follow August, and August is in love with Jack, who is actually starting to experience something that it's called degenerative hallucinatory disorder. And basically what Jack is seeing is a world layered on top of the real world. And it's actually very fascinating how Ancrum wrote the book, because it feels like whenever Jack is speaking about the world that he's seeing layered on top of the real one, it really feels like you're entering another world, and it feels like you're entering into a fantasy narrative. But then you come back into the real world, and then you're back to a young adult coming of age sort of story. And those scenes were done very seamlessly. It almost imperceptible. The flow of the book was excellent. I really, really enjoyed that. I think that they did an excellent job with that as well. But so, I just don't want to say a lot about this book, because I feel like this book is something needs to be read by people to experience the whole thing. But the book is called The Wicker King because that's how Jack expresses August in this layered world. In a way. But as in any case, August is... They both have love for each other. But August is just so in love with Jack that he starts to wonder what's real and what's not. And he starts to doubt his own reality as well. And then when the book resolves and we learn what has been the cause of this disorder, August is very indifferent as to the cause, and August doesn't really learn anything from the narrative of the book. It's fascinating because people around August are telling him what he needs to do in order to help Jack, but he somehow just doesn't do that, and he somehow just wants to support Jack in this path that he's leading, and that he's obviously getting August into it. I do want to say that the relationship is a little toxic, or maybe it is just toxic. But I think that there's compassion there, and there's empathy there with August. I'm just not very sure if Jack was able to feel that too. But it is a very tragic book. And I actually did enjoy very much reading this book. I totally recommend people reading it. Like I said, especially if you want to learn what not to do when you're handling people with mental illness. It's just great. But moving on from this, because I'm gonna release more information than I need to for this book. So moving on, I also read These Violent Delights by Micah Nemerever. Hopefully that's how you pronounce that last name, because it's a tongue twist. But on this one, we follow Paul, and he falls in love, again, unfortunately, with a person who he recognizes as not of his class. This person has a lot of money. I forgot his name. I think it was, was it Felix? But anyway, Paul is the important one. And this is also another book about a very toxic relationship, but this relationship actually gets physically abusive, which is not good, guys. Ever. And there's forgiveness there, but there is no consequences, and neither Paul nor the other male lead, which I'm blanking on his name, I think it's Felix, but they seem to love each other, but they don't have love for themselves, let alone for one another. I think it's just a relationship of comfortability, of not having anybody else. And the other character's name is Julian, I remember now. Yeah, he's French as well. But this book takes place in the 1970s in Pittsburgh. We are dealing with Paul, who is actually very smart, very intelligent. He started college at the age of 17, and Julian is actually a little older. They're both studying. I think Paul is studying actually to be a doctor, and Julian, he's just in college because his parents want him to be involved in politics, and he doesn't want to do that. But it's a whole family history with both of them, actually. But the main thing of the book is that they are talking about doing this one thing just because they can, and because they can get away with it. I didn't like this book at all, guys. Not one bit. I didn't like the relationship. I didn't like this thing that they were doing. I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's part of the main plot of the book. And so they plan on doing this thing, and it goes on forever. This is a very slow-paced book. There are very few important things that happen in the narrative, and then when the thing that they plan happen, which by the way happens at 75% of the book, we already know that it's going to happen, and it's just not exciting anymore. It was too late when it happened, and it's not shocking because we sort of know that it's going to happen because they have planned it. And yeah, I just didn't like this book. I'm not going to spoil the ending, but it's this book also doesn't end well. Shocker. But yeah, I just didn't like this book, guys. These Violence Lights is definitely not my thing. I think it's because it's a thriller, but it's a very romanticized version of a relationship. And that's also not for me. I don't like romance in books, and I don't like thrillers or horror novels because I usually just don't get that thrill, and I don't get scared when reading horror. So that's why I just avoid reading horror and avoid reading thrillers. But this was a romance thriller, queer romance thriller. But it just definitely not for me. It was not written for me. I'm not the audience for this book. I'm not the audience for this book, guys. I'm sorry. That's the only thing I'm going to say about that book. But the next book is The Conductors by Nicole Glover. Oh my God, this book was so good. I'm so glad for this book. This is a book. It's actually set a little after Emancipation Proclamation is released, and we follow Hetty Rhodes, and her husband Benji. They were called the Conductors because they were actually part of the Underground Railroad, and they were actually helping slaves get out of the hold of their owners. God, it's so bad to even say out loud. Ugh. But in this world, there is magic. And so you can imagine that, obviously, magic plus slavery, it wasn't good. If there's magic available during that time, it definitely wasn't good. But I'm glad that the Underground Railroad still played a big part in the story, and I'm glad that the main characters were actually part of that, and the characters actually were able to use their magic so to help slaves and other people who needed help. the magic system is fascinating. They use sigils, and there are different ways to channel magic as well, but the main one is they use sigils based on the constellations, and that was incredible. I really like that. I like that each sigil is able to do a very specific thing, and we have 88 constellations, so there's 88 possibilities to do. And they also combine sigils together so that, you know, they can protect an area in a space, and it's very good. But actually, so for this one, we follow again Hetty and her husband. Hetty and her husband are actually hired. Well, are more like they're forced to investigate. I want to say. Because there are free black men that are being killed, and they're being stamped with the curse sigil, and it appears to be that the people who are doing it are their owners or hiring somebody to do that for them. But it's a lot more complex than that. We get introduced to a whole gamma of characters, and each one with their own strength. And I love the fact that Hetty doesn't only use her magic, she also uses her network. I really, really like that Hetty is a seamstress, and she uses that to sew magic in the garments that she makes. But as in any case, moving on with the plot, it's so more people are showing up with a curse sigil, and they're dead and dying, and they're just trying to find out why they're doing this and who is responsible for this. I have to say that this is not a mystery book, but I actually didn't. I wasn't able to tell who did it, which is excellent. Because I am able to detect who did it in a mystery book. Blame it on my grandmother and reading Agatha Christie for me when we were growing up. But I really, really like it. There's a second book called The Undertakers that I'm definitely going to read because I am just fascinated by this world. I'm fascinated by the politics. I'm fascinated by the people. I'm fascinated by the magic system. The whole world just seems detached from this one, but also very much like our own. So I'm really, really grateful that I was able to get this book from the library because it is excellent. I don't know why it took me so long to get it, but yes. So I think those are my books. Yeah, those are the books, and those are also the tarot, guys. I am very thankful that I was able to read the books that I read this month and also use the tarot that I did. Let me know in the comments below what tarot did you use for this month, and if you read it, and if you read, let me know also the books that you read on the comments below, or if you like any of these books that I showed you, or if you like any of the tarot that I showed you. I would really like to know, guys. But thank you so much again for being with me on this video. I really appreciate it. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye bye, YouTube.